The ultimate evidence of the Holy Spirit in our lives is not signs, miracles, wonders, gifts, tongues, faith, hope, or holiness. The greatest evidence of the presence of the Holy Spirit in us is love. There are three things that will endure: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Love is how the world knows we're followers of Jesus. Love motivates us to minister to the least and the most difficult of these, and in doing so, to serve and love Jesus. Love inspires two great commandments that Jesus gave to us. Love agape, that is selfless, unconditional, and completely giving, is impossible without the help of the Holy Spirit. He pours God's love out of our hearts. For we know how dearly God loves us, because He has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with His love. When the Holy Spirit fills us with love, every fear, every worry flees. This is God 321. And now, here's your host, Danny Hutchins.
Hello, Detroit. Hello, Shelby. Hello, Warren.
Hello, Shelby. Thank you.
Hello, Shelby. Hello, Warren. Hello, Browns Township. Hello, Flint. Hello, Sarnia. Hello, Windsor. Hello, Toledo. We are here with you today, and we have a great guest. And we'll be talking to him in just a minute. Hey, you know we're right here, God321.net, for you guys who want to get us on the internet. And you know that right now on WLQV 1500 AM, you can dial us in. Well, you wouldn't know that we're talking. You can dial us right in. And you can find it podcast after the show, and you'll also can go to God321.net, and we have you on there, so you can find us on the internet. And you can email me at danhutchins@God321.net. We're here today with Phil Randazzo. Phil Randazzo is a veteran from the Vietnam War. And Phil, you're sort of the coordinator and in charge of the Vietnam Memorial, and you carry the message and the mail on those of us who were in the Vietnam War as veterans, particularly during the time between our time, 1965, and you were in through 1967, and I was in through 1969.
Yes, Dan, and thank you for having me here today. Yes, I was in Vietnam in 1967, 1968. I was drafted in May of 1967, and 2 years later, I was discharged. But
that was a fast 2 years. You know? Yeah, it was an eventful 2 years.
It's like 200 years.
But before we start on that, you are the Shelby Township Veterans Events Coordinator.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
You have a big responsibility. Didn't you help with Warren too? Didn't they had a big event just here this year?
Well, not really Warren. It was the Utica, Shelby, Sterling Heights
area.
Right. What the heck was that? It was a group of people, and they wanted me to come in. They were moving the Vietnam traveling wall over to Dodge Park in Sterling Heights.
Well, that was a large event, though.
Right. Oh, yeah, it's very large. And they wanted, to make sure there's veterans aboard that committee to make sure the military protocol was carried out and to respect them.
But didn't Sterling Heights and Macomb also, they had... because we're getting to close to our World War II vets are in their 89, 90 range.
Yeah, and plus.
So we had a program, Macomb had a program for the World War II vets, and we've lost all the war. We've only got, one or two remaining World War I vets.
I believe we just lost the last one. Right, a few weeks ago.
And so we're here to talk about the Vietnam War vets who are growing a little older, too. You and I share the same birthday year, 1946, so I am 65 before you because I was in July. So we're getting a little older, too.
Yes, mine's October 4th. I'm right behind you.
Yeah, and then the Vietnam event, if you want to call it war or if you want to call it coordinating plan, that actually started much earlier than us. That started in 1959.
Correct.
So we have veterans that go back back to 1958 and 59. So they, they're in their 72, 73 years old.
Right. Now, actually, you and I are the older Vietnam veterans.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we're getting up there to replace the World War II veterans now.
You are not kids?
Well, we do have the Korean War veterans, and I don't want to forget about them.
No,
they're
we don't want
there.
to forget about. Well, they were, yes, because they're getting quite up there because of the Korean War, 1952-53, and of course we have MASH, which will always be a veteran.
Oh my goodness!
The TV show MASH.
Now that was great. That is great.
Yeah, that is hilarious, but it actually deals with a lot of the things that go on in war, the humor you have to have just to get through the days, which you were a tunnel rat.
Correct. Well, I was a reconnaissance intelligence scout.
Yeah, that's a tunnel rat. Or just a rat, right?
Just a rat. and being a scout, you have to go find the enemy. They're not just going to walk up to you.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
see, most people don't understand in Vietnam what that went. You know, in the World War One, they had the trenches in Normandy and in France. And then in World War II, we had more open fighting. We didn't have trenches. You know, you did what you did, but you didn't have that. And then in Vietnam, we had this phenomena about tunneling. The Vietnamese tunneled ingenuity to get into our camps, and then just get behind you and just pop up here, pop up there, to kill and to disappear. And you were out there to, you know, like that little dog that rattered, you know, that goes into the hole and, you know, to get that mold or that mouse, right?
Chasing that rabbit.
Yeah, you were sent down that hole.
The old beagle chasing that rabbit. But I can laugh about it now, but it wasn't too funny back then. It was very serious, and actually they're called the tunnels of Cu Chi. I believe it's a tourist attraction they have in Vietnam right now.
Well, you were the first tourist.
Yes, I helped create that program, I think.
There you go. But tell people what that was all about, because the public doesn't know that.
Well, being a tunnel rat is. It's quite an experience. You have to be the right size person to be able to get into them tunnels, and they're just not all over. They don't have no signs. Here's a tunnel. You go on your search and destroy missions with your recon unit, and then Charlie's going to hit you by firing at you, or. Booby traps, and he's in the area.
But it's like golfers, right? They just pop right up.
They pop up, they pop down, and you got to go find them. Once you find that tunnel, then you got to go in and get them. That's orders,
But you go right in. You went right into that tunnel, and you had to go head first. You're leading, you're crawling right through a tunnel, and you're looking for the enemy, and the enemy knows that you're coming.
Well, sure, because he sees my flashlight.
Yes.
Okay. And how you get into these tunnels is two other soldiers that will grab each one of my ankles and lower me straight down. My arms extend over my head, drop down about 3 feet, and then you hit the ground, and then you start crawling down your tunnels, and you have your flashlight and a bayonet, 45.
And a few grenades?
No, because they'll provide that for you down there.
Well, you didn't want to break your eardrums either.
The 45 is loud enough in the tunnel. I found that out one time. But actually, you're pumping so much you really don't even know you're firing off that 45 down there. You don't even hear that.
Well, see, we'd said before the show while we were talking, you see, you're scared, but there's so much chaos in Vietnam because the government really didn't know why we were there. We didn't know why we were there. And no one knew what was going on. You just know you had to fight the people trying to kill you so that you had to protect yourself. And then your own army is bombing the heck out of you overhead and shooting at you. And So being underground was kind of, you had more control than anybody else, and you were in a safe place relatively.
Yeah,
right?
you really only have to worry about yourself down there. You know, when you're on top of the earth fighting, you have a lot of other people that you have to be worried about, especially the wounded. You know, mainly the wounded. The dead, you can't help them, but the wounded, you know, you have to kind of comfort them quickly before they go into a shock.
And helicopters coming in to take them out, take out the wounded. You got to get them to the wounded. The enemy knows it. They're coming, so they're shooting at you. You're shooting at the helicopter, shooting at the wounded. Busy traffic.
Busy. Then you got your gunships coming in, and they're firing their rockets and their miniguns, and the artillery's putting their 2 cents worth in, you know. And here you are down there on the receiving end, and wondering, you know, when is it going to stop? And then what the worst part really is, once it's all over with, the helicopters leave, the artillery stops, your buddies are gone, or guys that you kind of have a little relations with there, then it's lonely.
Yeah.
That's the bad part.
Yeah.
All alone now.
But see, it's silence, and silence is scary.
Yes, but it's...
Well, let's go back to, you were just 18 years old, just getting out of high school?
Well, that was my first draft notice. And then 19, I was in Barber College, finishing that up, so I was deferred once again.
You mean you didn't go to beauty school? It was Barber College?
No, it was Barber College, yes, it was Barber College. That's where the money was back then. Men got a haircut once a week at that time. Yeah. So it was a good livelihood. And then I received another draft notice in the Barber College, and I was exempt because it was full-time college. But they handed me another draft notice before I graduated. This way they made sure they had me before I ran off to Macomb Community College, which I had intentions of doing that, see.
Well, you graduated from Utica?
Utica High.
Yeah, I graduated from Warren.
Okay, it's right down the street.
Right down the street. But see, I graduated a little earlier in years. I didn't get my notice till after I graduated.
Well, I received one because I turned 18 in the 12th grade on October 4th. Started school in September. October, I'm 18, and bam, you get your physical and your draft notice at the same time, and then your counselor gets you out.
Well, see, I had graduated early, got into college, so I was July 15th. Before you, I was 18, but I didn't get my notice right then. You know, it was a little past later in the year, closer to yours. Right.
It was heavy drafting back then.
Yeah,
heavy drafting. Apparently, they knew that the Tet Offensive was going to come up, and so they had to make sure they had enough men over there, which the numbers grew from that point all the way up over 400,000 by the time we got there.
Well, that's where it had really started. The draft was really heavy for our age group.
Right. That was, because they knew the Tet was coming, and the North Vietnamese Army was going to come down from the north and try to take over the south. And that started January 31st, 1968. So you look at, we got drafted in 67, and here 68, the Tet Offensive started, so... Yeah, but there were things that you don't know about at the time, and
well, I went in 65.
Okay, right.
So I got in 65, and then I didn't get out to 69 in June, the 14th, officially. I was actually home a little earlier than that, and I was stationed in Grosse Ile. Okay. And then I got officially out the 14th. I met my future wife on the 14th, so it was a good day for me.
Isn't that something, how you have all them dates in your head from way back then in the military? Yeah. There were dates you just can't forget for some reason.
But you were drafted, and out you went.
Yes, without arguing.
And they enticed you. They were going to let you be in the band there.
Yeah, this is my 7th week in boot camp, and I was called down to an auditorium, and which got me into a lot of trouble with my drill instructors. And I auditioned, and because I was a drummer before, I studied music before I was drafted, and so these officers told me I was in the Army band. So I finished my boot camp a couple weeks later, and I thought I was going to go down to the Army band, but they put me on a bus and drove me right down the road to my intelligence reconnaissance training, or tunnel ratting.
So they tell you to play music.
Yeah, I played music, all right. But it wasn't with drumsticks. It was with M60s. And
well, I've got a great picture of you. I want to tell, because we have radio here. It's radio. man, good-looking young kid here.
Well, thank you.
And you still got all that hair.
I think that might be a little bit Agent Orange that kept it up. I'm not sure.
And it looks like to me you did a little bit of barbering here.
Yes.
Yeah, you cut hair in Vietnam.
When we came into an area, then I was ordered to cut everybody's hair off because it was all encrusted with whatever.
Yeah, sure. And, boy, yeah, you were trim. Trim, handsome, youthful.
Well, that's because they fed us so well over there.
Well, yeah, and also, see, they wanted you. You were just perfect size to fit in that hole.
That's it. That's all of us scouts, that's how we were.
Yeah, they said, hey, this guy looks like a whole rat to me.
Yeah.
See, that's your occupation.
Yeah,
whole rat.
You see, now it's Sicilian. They say, yes, send him in.
Send him in. He knows what dirt's like. Get him in that hole. So then you just pop your head up and pop your head down.
Yeah, I got lost one time down in the tunnel. I was lost and couldn't figure how to get back out because you only can crawl forward and you have to back up to get out. And I couldn't get out. I'm trying to figure which way I came in. And
oh, that's scary.
Oh, but then you got to watch your panic. You can't panic. You got to watch yourself. And so I did get out. And I got up on top again, and the lieutenant says, anything down there? I says, no. I said, but I'll tell you what, I don't think I'm going to go back down again because I got lost. I says, it took me a while to figure which way to get back out. He said, no, you're going to have to keep going down whenever we found one. So I said, well, if I have to do that, I said, get me some rope out here, and then tie it to my ankle, and then I'll go in, and this way I can pull myself back out.
Yeah.
So they choppered out some rope and kept it in our APCs, Yeah, you have to think on your feet running, I'll tell you.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
But the neat thing about being in the tunnel, see, at least you didn't have anybody giving you orders.
No. Nobody gave me no orders. Nobody gave me...
See, follow me in and you can talk to me.
That's it. I can respond with the 45,
Well, we got to help our audience here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you went down to Fort and you went on, and they sent you to Vietnam and they put you in the tunnels, and then obviously this was traumatic, no question, and it's so past the young people that listen to it don't have any clue or any idea, of the trauma, and you were just 19 years old, and you were unloaded. You were in a foreign country. You were in a heavy, heavy war zone in a very confused time where even our own military shot at us. Even we had flyovers. Even, it was so confused that we had to go duck and run so that we wouldn't be bombed by our own bombers often.
Yes, there's a lot to that. It's just not the bombers, it's a lot of the gunships.
Gunships, yes.
And the artillery, because we get hit and we really don't want any air power coming in on us because we don't even know where the enemy's at yet until we find them and bang it out with them. And
well, sure, the enemy, this was their country, their space, their area, their design. They knew a whole lot more than we knew.
They hit us at their convenience.
At their convenience.
Yeah.
We were on their in their living room, and they hit us at their convenience.
Right. We were scared of the air power. Today, I believe they call it friendly fire.
Yes.
But there's no such thing as any kind of fire that's friendly.
Well, people don't understand. The ships are sitting off. They're out in the ocean. They're miles away. They get intelligence. They fire. Then the dependence on that they get the right coordinates, and when they fire their load, and it gets confusing. And obviously, our technology wasn't that sharp sometimes.
It wasn't that good, but it's a lot of excitement too for the boys up in the air.
Well, yeah,
it's something new for them guys.
Well, sure, but they were flying low too, and so they were subject to rifle fire and shoulder rocket fire.
The single ones were flying low. The married ones were flying higher.
And the drunken ones are weaving all over, right?
That's how we used to judge who was married and who was single.
Well, I don't blame them that. You got the picture of the wife and kids on there. You want to be as high as you can.
Yeah, they want to be real high back there.
And so you're dropping your load, and it kind of gets sprayed across.
Yeah, well, you look over your shoulder, turn your head, look backwards, and you can see the eggs dropping from back there. Then you know the guy's married. One's coming right over your head, and you burn your hair off your head by their jets coming over you, and they were the single boys. But you got to watch out either way.
Yeah, you got to watch out either way.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that war is not a very good thing for certain people. It's very bad.
War is not a good thing for anyone. You know, the innocent get abused so badly, and the pulling going because people die, innocent, guilty, it doesn't matter. You know, soldiers, what is a soldier? You're a kid, you know, who was at home one day, and you're in a foreign land, you're given a weapon, another, and you're pointed, and you're given your enemy. You don't know your enemy. You don't know what's going on. You just have orders. And at that time, this country was angry at the soldiers. They were angry at the government. They were angry at the soldiers. They were angry at the war. You know, that you and I were not wanted by anybody.
What we fought for when we lived out there in a recon unit, you're out there in the villages, and you're protecting the children and the females.
Yes.
The males, they're not in the hooches. They're not in the villages. They're in the South Vietnamese Army, or they belong to the Viet Cong. That's what we fight for. That's what we patrol for.
But see, you had to pick out that, and you had to pick that because we didn't really know who the enemy was. I think because there were no uniforms to identify anybody. The enemy for us, they looked alike. They looked different. We couldn't pick one out just because they weren't wearing colors. Didn't say "I am the enemy." You know, didn't have the "I am the enemy" T-shirt on, and we couldn't see them. And then, in my case, many of my friends had to deal with the fact that the Vietnamese used the seniors and children to be walking bombs. You know, you had a kid who come to shine your shoes or come in. It was funny. You bought him ice cream. You gave him candy. You know, you laugh with the little one. The little one was innocent. And when he comes in, she's got a bomb strapped to their leg underneath their clothing. And then you've lost 25 buddies. And this is perpetrated on the enemy, who we think we have in conscious that how could we possibly ever do that? How could they do that? Different thinking, survival thinking, different thinking, and then you have old men with carts, old women with carts, and they bring you fruit, and you get accustomed to be there, and then the cart is full of explosives, and then you lose friends. It was a time of chaos.
Yes, you're not used today because you come from the United States of America. You know, you left it behind, and all the luxuries of water, a bathroom. You know, you have nothing out there, and
you only have God.
Yeah, well, that's true too. That's the only person that's going to bring you back home.
That's right. And the loneliness, as you said, when everything stops.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. You can hear your heartbeat, and you go, what is that? You haven't heard that.
I said some prayers, and the fighting stopped.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's say an Our Father, do the sign of the cross, and the fighting stops.
Yes.
It has to stop because you can't go on forever in your head. You're not going to make it.
Yeah. Well, you're telling me about a rescue that you did, and tragic. The helicopters would come in to take the wounded.
Yeah. There was many wounded I seen, but my first wounded that I really seen, unit was hit, and we drove up to help them. It was in a wooded area, and I dismounted off my APC and ran into that wooded area, and here's a young black soldier leaning against a tree, sitting against a tree, and I seen a helicopter come down to evacuate, and I looked at this soldier, and I says, "You all right?" And his face, you could just see that look. He didn't reply. His eyes just stared straight. I said, "Well, this soldier's not right." So I picked up his left arm and put over my shoulders and put my arm around him. When I did that, my hand felt wet. It felt funny, and what it was, his whole spine from his neck down to his waist was just split wide open. Wide open, and I still have to lift him up like that.
And your fingers went into the wound?
It went into that spine and just split him more, and I got him over to the helicopter, and then you got your medics there or whoever, and they're putting him on a helicopter. They leave, and we have to go take care of the enemy and finish that there fighting. But that was my very first soldier that I seen wounded. That was my first.
That was grisly.
First 100. So, it's a rough one.
Yeah,
it's a rough one.
And you were a little, you're a little guy, but you said you're small, but you're running on adrenaline.
Yeah, you run on. But all the other guys too. They're really not that big in the units in the jungles. There is no food out there. Sea rations are very scarce. Sugar cane is a big commodity. You chop that up and suck on that, and. But the food is not there, so you lose a lot of weight. 120 pound, everybody weighs 125 pounds. If you're 130 pounds, that's a heavy guy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you were 18, 19, 120 pounds, and that they picked you for that reason, so that you could move slowly, quietly in through the holes and get between the trees and the bushes.
And a lot of push-ups. They train you pretty good, so you got that upper body strength.
Yeah, and plus you're driven by fear.
Oh, the fear! You'll do amazing things with fear. That you're able to leap tall buildings. It's amazing.
Run like a jackrabbit.
I was blown off of with RPGs. I was blown off of 4 APCs and 1 M48 tank. So I lost 5 vehicles with RPGs, and you end up flying. With the concussion and bounce off the ground and. Sometimes you come up, you're dazed, by the shock wave, but you keep on going, and it's the physical training. You're trained here in our military. They'll train you to be obedient, commands, sharp shooting or whatever. But the enemy teaches you how to fight.
Yeah.
They'll teach you round after round. The longer you stick around that 15-round fight, the more you're going to learn, So.
And you have to learn.
You have to learn. Otherwise, you're going to get knocked out.
Yeah, if you don't,
you're gone.
We're here today, though, to talk about all this, but also to celebrate, if you want to call it something, to honor. Honor is a better word. To really honor the Vietnam veterans out there and to talk about this war. You hate to say that any war is popular, okay? But World War II was popular. World War II is a war that the United States was behind. It was a war that they marketed, that they sold to the people. There was parades to go, there were parades to come back. There were celebrations, there were movies, on and on and on and on. There are movies showing us being victorious. They're honoring all the soldiers. Before, after, and Vietnam got none of that. There were no parades when I came back. There was people standing at the airport to spit all over me and throw eggs at me and curse me. I don't know how you were, but you said you landed in San Francisco.
I landed in San Francisco.
Well, then I know how you were.
It was pretty rough in San Francisco.
It was pretty rough in San Francisco.
And I didn't have an M16 with me at the time.
Yes.
But
it's terrible to come home and be the enemy.
It was very bad for years.
Yeah, to fight the enemy and then come home and be the enemy. And then try to get a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no! On every application that you fill out for employment, on the bottom it states, "Are you a Vietnam veteran?" Yes or no, and that decides if you get the job.
Yeah, and the terrible part, the government had said that we could have the jobs that we had before back, but when we came back, that no one seemed to have gotten that memo.
No, they didn't get that one. No, but they didn't like the Vietnam veteran. But then again, there was no stories on TV.
That's right. There was no heroes.
Right.
Where was the Vietnam veteran hero? Where was the hero? Where you had World War II heroes, you had Korean heroes, you had MASH.
Right.
You know, where was the hero? Where was the humor? Where was the guy who's out there plugging away? You know, what movies that we get that you would want to watch?
Yeah, there was no glorious battles, you know. We're sitting out there slugging out, and then we win, like Pork Chop Hill or Battle of the Balls, you know. Oh, we did have a little bit of one case on, but, you know, that was only a one-sided affair where the Marines were always getting their butt kicked, and, you know, what the heck, they're not going to make a movie out about that, I don't think.
Well, politically, whatever victory they got was erased by politics,
Right.
so you make some gains, and then the announcement was, well, we just handed that back.
Right. Well, Lieutenant Kelly, he received a lot, you know, the My Lai, you know, that made popularity all over this country, but that shouldn't have been that way.
No, it shouldn't have been that. But see, that was a bad note.
That was very, very bad.
Yes, and they looked at it, and then you had the Jane Fondas of the world.
Well, yeah, you had her going over there stirring them up against
with
us.
the Chinese and sitting in their tanks and telling Hollywood, scorning the action. There was hardly separation where the President of the United States was our leader. We were over there. We were drafted. You were drafted. I was drafted. Everyone I know that was drafted. We didn't have a choice. We didn't get picked, but we didn't run away from it. We didn't run away from it and have this protest because we believe we were told that it was righteous. It was a righteous war. It was a righteous act that we were protecting women and children from an unrighteous enemy, that we were there to protect and take back what was taken from them and prevent the slaughter.
Right. You see no American flags over there. We didn't fly the flag. We weren't there to conquer. We were there to protect.
Yeah.
And the people here didn't realize that. They thought we were over there
to take something.
To take it from them.
No, there was nothing to take.
No. And if we weren't, I seen what they did to the village people. What the Viet Cong did in the North Vietnamese. I seen what they did to the villages, and it's very bad what they did to their own people over there.
So we were fighting communism.
Right.
You know, we were protecting them from being overwhelmed by communism. And then the only thing that I see that may have come out of is the Hmong people who took sides. On the American side, the Hmongs were our guides and in many cases, and they backed up and they tried to do everything they can to help the American then. And then their people, when we left, we left them behind. And then, our government finally came down where they allowed some of them to escape, but then our friends were the Vietnamese enemy, and we left our own friends behind. Our government did.
You know, that was a shame. I didn't want to see that when we did leave.
Yes.
I knew that was bad, and then the killing fields came about after that in Cambodia.
Yes, the killing fields came. We didn't leave with order. We just bailed.
It was chaos when we left.
It's chaos.
They could say what they want, but I know I was there. I fought at the embassy during the Tet Offensive, and that was rough fighting in Saigon itself. And as we were leaving, when the North Vietnamese tanks were coming in, I knew that really was bad for them people. I knew they were going to really, really suffer.
Yes, they were taking out their anger.
Very, very much so, because they were working for us, over 10 years,
yes.
And
they were loyal and working with us, but they want to take it out, but also they want to take what they had, take away what they had, replace it with, communism. And this group of loyal people represented the anger. We interfered with that, so they're going to take it out on somebody.
Right.
And they weren't going to take it in the United States because they had an afterthought. They wanted something for the United States after we left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was the message they gave us. That was the message.
Yeah, so they took it out on the Hmong people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I just didn't like that idea with the Cambodian fields, what they did over there. The democracy was in Cambodia, and
yes, it was slaughter.
Yeah, they slaughtered them. So I believe that's what today the government has that problem about pulling out of Iraq and other areas like that, because I believe the same thing going to happen again, because they don't have
they don't have the ability
armies
to defend themselves.
They can't defend themselves. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there in the first place.
Yes.
And that's how I look at it. And the South Vietnamese soldier was he was a weak soldier. He wasn't a strong soldier. I worked with them, and they depend on us when we get in the fights. I really don't want to knock them too much, but they're always taken off someplace else.
But that's every place that doesn't have a standing. The poor, when you don't have weapons, you don't have training, and then you that's where 1 or 2% of a population can overwhelm the 97-98%, because if you don't have training, you don't have weapons. And today, that even a small intendance has availability of weapons of mass destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And you imprison a population, and then you purge it of its strong leaders and strong men, and then you reduce it down to women and children, and then you have control. And old men. Women, children, and old men.
Yeah.
And that's what they did to Vietnam.
There was a fear about the nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
You ran across it, and it kind of tingled my insides, because we knew that they had nukes between the Russians and the Chinese, and they supplied the weapons, and they supplied manpower, and we were always wondering, when are they going to drop a little small nuke over here, and take care of us guys.
Yeah, that's why they're fighting, too, to prevent that, which
right.
the American public didn't understand that.
Right.
Then we had to deal with Agent Orange.
That was another issue I ran across. That's how you find a lot of tunnels easier. Once the Agent Orange burns away the jungle, then you can see the black holes in the ground.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it was trying to do, and they didn't understand the repercussions of Agent Orange on those tunnel rats that were in there, because you had to forge through all that where it left that defoliant.
Mm-hmm.
And when people don't understand that, it's like if you go out and you get the strongest weed killer possible and you spread it all over your grass, and you go out next morning, you find it's dead and all falling over there. But this country was doing that with whole forests.
Right. And there was other agents also. They had other chemicals too.
Yes, many
chemicals.
Many.
Orange, they just threw that one out there, but there was all types.
Yeah, and it's the all types that you didn't hear about.
Right. One tunnel I was burnt, chemically burnt. I didn't realize it.
Acids, they
stated it was a mustard gas residue left over. They lined the tunnel with it. And wherever my body hit going in the tunnel, it hit my skin and inflated big blisters like footballs on my chest and arm.
Holy cow.
And I was dusted off on that one. And then in the base camp, they were telling me it's a residue of mustard gas, because it's a blistering agent. So I did run across that out of a tunnel,
Well, praise God that you are here and alive to tell us, because obviously that was a miracle in itself. Mustard gas is nasty stuff.
Yeah, there's booby traps, or they call them IEDs, but you can't call a mustard gas a booby trap or IED. It's not an explosive, but it was a booby trap. They booby trapped the tunnels, But that's what it's a deterrent from us going in after.
Yes, after that.
Some importance inside there, because there was a hospital. I found a hospital in one, and the ones that I was going in, they were more your fighting tunnels. They had different classifications of tunnels. And the ones I was going across were the fighting tunnels, the ones who would hit us, and then they go crawl away. Their caches, their weapons would be there. And then, like I said, I ran across a hospital one time.
Yeah, where they'd hide their wounded away. Yeah. The others didn't understand that the way they fought is because of the numbers and the weapons and availabilities. They dug holes underground, and they would come up behind you, or where you least expected. Jungle fighting. American Indians are famous for that. Our Rangers are famous for that. World War II is learning how to fight, in the jungles and hide Vietnamese were phenomenal at hiding, at camouflage, at subterfuge. Being here, then popping up and being over there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're good. They are good. I have a little story about that. There was one of our platoons was getting hit all the time in this one village, and so what they did, our officers, they switched us, and they told us to go start patrolling that village in the evening, and we did, and we did get hit, and never get any enemy bodies, and so as we go into the back of the village, the hooches each have 2 water buffaloes, like a 2-car garage, but we looked at the water buffaloes in the dark, and they're into muck up to their chest, and I'm thinking, why didn't we get an enemy? We're fired it up, and there's nothing. So as me, and I can't remember who else was with me back there, and I'm looking at the water buffaloes, and I said, well, I'll see what happens, So I kind of torqued up the water buffaloes. They fell over, and when they fell over, up came the Viet Cong.
Oh, wow.
They're right inside the muck.
Right inside the muck.
Yeah, and they use the bamboos to breathe through. Say they're sharp, but you know what? You got to be a little bit sharper,
Well, I said they taught you how to be sharper.
They taught you. Yeah, you keep surviving, and you'll learn.
But let's talk about your Vietnam memorial efforts. Mm-hmm. You have a project here, and that's in Macomb. Mm-hmm. Give us a background on that. And this is a current project you're working on right now.
Yes, very current. Yeah, it's a project where back in 2004, my wife and I, and she's an Army veteran, and she works at the...
She's an Army veteran?
Oh, yes.
You married an Army veteran?
Yes.
Did you meet her there?
No, I met her at the VA hospital, Agent Orange Treatments in dermatology. I was going over there 3 days a week for treatments, and...
Well, see, God takes any situation, and He gives you a positive about it.
There it is.
Your wife there.
There it is. That's exactly right.
Well, sorry, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and so she's also a professional artist, and so back in 2004, I was doing the ceremonies, I still am, for Veterans Day and Memorial Day for Shelby Township, and I watched the faces of the people who lost their loved ones. And I watch as they go away. They're smiling. They're very happy there. They feel comforted by the other people, feel comforted by their sons' names engraved in their memorial. But after it's all over with, they walk away and their faces drop and they're by themselves, And I've seen that too much overseas, the sadness. And so I said, well, wait a minute. I have to keep that face uplifted. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. So I come up with the idea of putting a memorial in the county seat, which would be, for Macomb County, would be Mount Clemens, the city of Mount Clemens. And so we designed a memorial, and I went to the commissioners in Macomb County, and I went to the executive director, Mark Hackle's office with it, and so far I went to the operations department, and everything seems to be flowing very well. The memorial will represent all the killed in action in Macomb County. Their names will be engraved on it. And this way the families or friends of the KIAs
have a place to go.
They have a place to go. They say, look at my son over there. They may eat or in a restaurant or go catch a show down there, and their relatives are from California. And they'll come out and say, wow, look at the people looking at my son over there. It's not like... today you have 145, I believe, I hope nobody quotes me, KIAs from Vietnam in Macomb County. And I ask myself, where are they at? Where can I go see them at? And, they're scattered behind every city hall or fire department with the bushes growing, not really cared for. Not like they should be. And so this here will be the solution, so that nobody ever forgets the KIAs in Macomb County that died.
KIA killed in action.
Killed in action, right. That died in the global war of terrorism, which we're in. It's a declared war. There's many countries out there. We just don't have the 5 axes of evils like we did. There's more and more, seems like. So.
Yeah, we can't point to World War II, World War One, previous wars where that was Spanish-American War. At least we could point to our enemy.
Right.
We at least recognize them. They, for the most part, were uniformed and behaved with some rules of war.
Right.
And now we're in a situation where there is no rules of war. There are no uniforms. You can't identify the enemy. You can't even point to a country and say that the enemy comes from that country.
Right.
Because the enemy is sometimes in a crowd, your enemy is you. That it almost seems like your enemy's here, your enemy's there, that every day we have a new enemy, or we're in a new position. We become policemen of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really an army of defense. It's we are the policemen of the world. We're into action. We're doing what NATO was supposed to do, I thought.
That's correct. That's what we're doing. But seems like we're taking the advance guard on it, and so you really can't put headers. If somebody gets killed in Yemen, we can't put Yemen on another memorial. So this is what this memorial is
about. You
about.
got Libya. Now we are in action. We're drawing attention to Libya, which we're not official in Libya,
Right.
but we're there in the Libya.
Right.
Because where there's an action, we're there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame that mothers and fathers or their children are all over the world being policemen, not for our defense.
It could happen anybody. It could happen in Italy,
Yes.
We have a big Air Force base over there we utilize, what are you going to put down Italy as a header, over that?
Well, do you have your land yet? Do you have the land that you were asked for? The plot of the plot that you asked for?
The plot, yes.
Yeah, I look at it, 24 inch by 24. All you need is a 24 by 20 piece of dirt.
24 by 24.
Than that.
No, that'll hold. That's sufficient.
Well, but you got to have somebody who will walk around it.
Well, what I did, I kind of put the 24 by 24, But hopefully I'll be getting an answer soon on that. Then we can get out there, and I have all the veterans organizations and all kinds of scouting units and churches. Everybody wants to participate.
So you really have to have that plot of land, or are people already making contributions?
They like to make contributions, but
you haven't got the organization structured yet?
Well, it's somewhat now, because I do have the VFW of Mount Clemens now. I approached them and asked them if they would host it.
Okay.
And they accepted. They wrote a letter to the county, so the county feels good about that now. And then they have their account. The donations can go into that account.
Okay, so you got that set up?
Yes, that's all set up there.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes. So tell us where people can follow this. Do we follow it in the advisor and the source? Do we contact you?
You can contact me. You can through Shelby Township. Mr. Static is the supervisor. His office. I work out of his office over there.
How long have you been doing that?
Oh, I have been over 10 years now.
10 years?
Yeah, over 10 years. And now Mr. Static, I believe he's been in office about 2.5 years. And
but you have an office, so contact you at Shelby Township.
Right.
And then they need to call you, Philip Randazzo.
Randazzo, yes.
Right at the township. They call up the township, ask for you.
Correct.
And you're working on having a place where they can send pledges.
Right. It'll be in the newspaper.
Okay, so it's coming.
It's coming.
And you're going to have a drawing.
Correct.
And you of the memorial. And you have the list. You've already are listing our veterans who were killed in action. You already are beginning to gather them so they can put properly on this.
Correct. Everything you'll be following the proper military protocol for each one of these real heroes here.
Well, that's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
And then you have a book here that you wanted to give me. Tell me a little bit about this as we wrap up.
Okay, this here
says Forever a Soldier.
Right. This book here was put out about 4 or 5 years ago. I can't exactly remember when, but it's by the Library of Congress and the National Geographics. And they collected stories and memoirs of veterans.
Okay.
For 5 years.
It's a project that they put out.
It was a project that the Library of Congress put out. Tom Weiner is the librarian.
Forever a Soldier.
You can look that up.
It's the government project of stories. It's like storyboard, that we hear of. We're collecting the history, the verbal history, the written history of our soldiers. And this is Vietnam.
Yes, and it's all the wars.
All the wars.
All the wars.
Okay.
And why I have it here is because there's a 10-page story on myself in here.
Well, we got to go because we have 1 minute. This is Dan Hutchins, got 321 WLQV and 1500. We're going to repeat this show tonight so you can be with Philip Randazzo this night between 11 and 12. And we will... I want to remind you about Saturday with Patricia Reverend Gruitz, and she's going to be Understanding God. We're going to have our first show on Saturday, right between 2 and 3, again on this station. Now, I got to get out of here. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Phil Randazzo. I want to thank every one of the veterans, all war veterans, all of you. I want to specifically thank Vietnam guys. Hey, I'm 65. I was there. Philip was there. We were both there with you. We love you. We appreciate you. You are not forgotten. You are loved. This is Dan Hutchins. God 321. We are out of here.
Thanks for listening to God 321 with Dan Hutchins. God 321 is sponsored by Dihydro Services, Inc. To learn more about the person of the Holy Spirit, visit God321.net. That's God321.net. Or call 586-978-0541. That's 586-978-0541.